Before we get in the program, Holly, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
All right, so the joke of the week is, why did the gardener quit his job?
Oh, I don't know. Why did the gardener quit? Gardeners shouldn't quit.
His salary wasn't high enough.
Salary as in salary.
Yeah.
All right.
When I was a kid, and
is this story time?
It's story time.
Okay.
On the news, when they said salary on the TV, like, the government's salary was cut or whatever they talk about, or teachers or whoever's salary gets cut on the news, I thought they meant like celery.
Did you have peanut butter or something in your ears?
I didn't know what salary meant when I was a small child. And I thought they meant like celery, like the vegetable.
Yeah, the government was cutting the vegetable.
Cutting the vegetables. Like, it's a shame they're getting paid in celery. I don't know what I thought past that.
Maybe some people think they should get paid in celery. So let's get into the program.
This week's
this week's garden joke is sponsored by Rescue.com.
American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pest insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
Landscaping do's and don'ts. Now, many people may choose to landscape their own property, front yard, backyard, patio, deck. Others may choose to try to do some of it, but also outsource it to a local landscape company. Now, if you were in the Milwaukee area, David J. Franks would be the one to go with. They have been around since 1968, and they have everything that you would need in order to get the job done.
Correct. So the first...
DavidJFrank.com. Yep.
All right, so the first tip is don't start without a plan. So you can go to the garden center. I'm going to do some landscaping. I'm going to buy some perennials. Perennials are plants that come back year after year. I'm going to buy a tree. I'm going to buy a cherry bush. You don't want to do...
Impulsive buying is not good in this situation.
No, especially if you are adding like a major plant, like...
renovation.
Yeah, like I said, like a tree, maybe like a lot of perennials. Perennials, like when you go look at the prices, they're not cheap. They're not like annuals where it's like you get 6 flowers for $3. You get one plant, usually they're like $15, $20, $30. And you're like, this is cute. I was going to impulsively spend $30. No, that's a bad idea.
Don't do that. Again, have a plan. Are you wanting to revitalize the back landscape or the backyard? You want to, pull the grass out and put a big bed in. You want to put some trees in. If you're in an urban setting, if you're in a city dwelling, what are the legalities of how close you can be planting items to the property line? That's another thing you got to be aware of. Again, if you are going to go to the route of, hey, I'm going to hire a landscaper. Here's my vision, landscaper guy or girl. Make it happen. You want a licensed and insured landscaper. True, there are some very good independent landscapers, and I'm not knocking them. I'm knocking the people that have no clue what they're doing. They're just fly-by-night people. They're going to charge you the least amount and do a terrible job in order to get your X amount of dollar check, and they're out of there, and you'll never hear from them again.
Right.
You get what you pay for.
Right. So another one is do think long term, and in that case, also don't be afraid to get rid of things that you might not like. So this, maybe you bought a home recently, and you're like, this bush is the ugliest bush I've ever seen in my entire life.
They make a saw for that.
Don't give yourself some weird guilt and be like, that bush might have been there for the last 30 years. I'm not saying you should rip all your plants out, but what I'm saying is you're like, and you even know that maybe you've dealt with this type of plant in the past. You know that cutting it, trimming it, whatever is not fun. You think it's ugly. It doesn't incorporate your vision of what you want for your landscape. Yank that sucker out. Same thing with like anything that's overgrown. Maybe there's overgrown shrubs and you know that that's too much. There's a better purpose for them. Or they belong in the trash. I don't know, but don't feel bad about that, because overgrown plants that don't serve a good purpose can cause problems like home maintenance problems, wood rot, insects, and obviously just for you're going to be annoyed if you keep that house
looking at this terrible plant every time you drive in the driveway.
Pretty much. And you're like, oh, but it was there. Or maybe you find it's hard to mow around, and you have to come up with some other sort of plan.
Okay, how about a do plan for low maintenance? Based on your time is precious to all of us. Father Time is undefeated. So create a landscape that meets your time requirements. If you don't have time to water, have an irrigation system set up. If you are needing that, mulch. Utilize plants that are not thirsty water dependent, but you can vitalize, make your time, choose wisely based on what time you have available. And even there's billions of plants out there that can meet anybody's needs, what you're looking for, what you're requiring, and what you don't want. Just don't buy something because, well, it's low maintenance and that's the kind of garden I want and that's the only plant that I can find. There's one out there that will meet your needs.
Right. And then another thing is, like, don't think in ones. So you might see 5 different plants you want, and you might have room for the 5 plants, but only the 5 plants. Maybe, think about, like, I want 3.
What you're saying is do your research and buy less than more, because you can always fill in the gaps.
Right. You can always fill in the gaps. And with that, also keep in mind that you might like 5 different plants, but you might not want to maintain 3 of those plants. So do some research. Do
decide where to spend your money. Buying the smaller size of a faster growing plant lets you spend more than larger plants or slower growing plants. So you can buy the small ones. It's going to take some time to grow. You don't need to buy, fill in the blank, a $300 plant when you can buy 4 $70 plants, and it still fills all the spaces up you want to. And then, if you're going to do a water feature, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. If you're going to have a play area, landscaping is not necessarily plants, but if you're wanting to redesign the backyard to accommodate family time as well as aesthetically pleasing areas, you can do that as well. You got arborvitaes you can put in there. You can put lilac bushes in there. You can put a patio in there. You can put a little pond around the patio. One thing you need to be aware of if you're going to do this yourself, this is not a one weekend type of thing. This is typically going to take a tremendous amount of more time than you ever expected. Not to be deterrent of you, but be aware that just because you saw it on this old house and it took 15 minutes to do a patio, we put a patio in one time, and they did it 15 minutes on this old house. It took us 7 days. Now, we didn't do it 7 days straight, but we worked, half a day here, quarter day there to lay this patio. It's going to take time.
About on the farm?
On the farm, yeah. Oh. And we're in a world of technology where, hey, I don't quite know how to do this or cut this type of brick or do this type of landscaping. Type it in on YouTube and just don't go off the first video you see. Do 3 or 4 or 5 videos and then figure out what the overall common consensus is there, and then try to tackle that task. I mean, doing it yourself is great. It saves a lot of money, but it does take a lot of time because you don't have the tools necessarily that in the Milwaukee area, David J. Frank will have, or your local independent landscaper has. That's what they do every day. That's what they do 60 hours a week. You don't have those special shovels or spades or wood chippers or track hose.
Earth movers. If you're like, I want to put a wall here or something,
there's a lot of shoveling.
There's a lot of shoveling. Yeah, like and you realistically can hire somebody like David J. Frank if you're in the Milwaukee area to do a portion of the landscaping, and the rest that you can do yourself. It's not necessarily an all or nothing.
Nothing wrong with doing it all yourself if you want to do it, but it just takes time, patience, and a lot of sweat equity. And that might be what you're looking for. If that's not what you're looking for, how about Walton's Inc. Incorporated? WaltonsInc.com may have what you're looking for in spices and meat processing tools.
Yeah, they have everything you can need for meat, and you can get all the equipment, seasoning, supplies to make sausage, jerky, any other meat product your way to your high standards. Do you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you go from finished product help you get the best finished product. Walton's even has a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers. Walton's, everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your orders at $50 or more, and that's at waltonsinc.com.